Hi everyone, welcome to Crafting in Quarantine. My name is Dabney. I'm the young adult librarian at the Twin Lakes Library System and I use they, them pronouns. For today's craft, we are going to be making a very basic felt plushie. So for this craft, what you're going to need is some felt, whatever color you want. I'm using yellow. If you want to sew this project, you're going to need, needle, thread, some scissors, or if you're not confident with your sewing abilities, but you still want to make this, hot glue or fabric glue will work well for like keeping everything together. For mine, I'm going to be sewing some buttons on there, so if you have buttons laying around, I have a whole thing of buttons. But as for like your design, that's kind of whatever you want to do. I'm going to have, some ideas linked to the video notes so you can like check out some different Pinterest ideas. Because some people, like they do their, if they're making a felt plushie, they do the entire thing with felt. They have lots of different colors. They cut out different shapes and then sew that all together or glue that all together, however you want to do it. Back before we kind of had to close down the building, I was teaching some of our students how to sew and how to make felt plushies and pillows. And anyways, one of the students was making like a really cool Midoriya plushie. So from My Hero Academia, they were doing, Midoriya's face. It was really cute. So, you can make this craft as complicated or simple as you want it to be. Some other things you're going to need is you'll need something to put in the middle to fill out, your plushie. And what we did at the library before, we just used shredded paper. That's fine. I'm actually going to use this dryer lint. It's soft and it's clean because it went through the washer and then the dryer. That's what I'm going to put in there. And then another thing you can do for your craft, if you want to, if you have this, you can give it a scent. If you have like essential oils or something like that. So I have grapefruit essential oil. So I think I'm going to put just a few drops of this in my craft. But we're going to go ahead and get started. I was also going to say, like, if you don't want to, if you're doing, so like mine is kind of, it got an inspiration from, I hope there's like an actual regular needle in here. Okay, there it is. My inspiration is kind of from people doing emoji plushies. So that's why I have like the yellow circle to represent like an emoji face. So I'm going to thread my needle. And, if you wanted to do an emoji face, but say you only had like, you didn't want to get a bunch of different colors of felt, you could just like draw on the features, with Sharpie, or if you had a fabric marker, you could do that. So now I'm tying a little knot at the end. My cats are running around. So I'm just doing a double knot here. So yeah, we've done that before at the library. Like some of the students didn't want to sew or glue on their features, so they just, colored it with the markers we had available. Alright, so now I'm going to sew my buttons on. So we're going to flip this down. And originally, I had thought about doing my favorite emoji face, which is the laughing, crying emoji. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to sew this. I'm like, this will be easy, and now I can't even. Bear with me, y'all. It's been a minute since I sewed a button. Okay, I got the needle up through here, making progress. But then, I didn't want this video to be like forever long. I feel like my videos are always really long. And I thought, oh, it might be simpler to just sew some buttons on there. So I thought, ow, I just stabbed myself with a needle. But anyways. But then, once I decided to do the buttons, I thought, this kind of reminds me of like Coraline. If you've ever read the book Coraline by Neil Gaiman, or if you've ever watched the movie, you'll know that there is a character called the Other Mother who sews these really creepy dolls with buttons for eyes. Anyways, I want to spoil it. Alright, I'm not gonna sew it too much, so I just did kind of like in and out, a couple times. So we're gonna put this one next to it. And I could just like, I'm not gonna worry about like cutting the thread and anything. This is just a very slapdash sewing job. But I would say, when you're doing your project, whatever you decide to do, like don't hesitate to invest more time in planning and execution. With these videos, I'm just trying to quickly get across the concept and then, introduce it to y'all and let you run wild with it. So sometimes I feel like things aren't as like, well done as they could be. Okay. Eyes. Great. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to do like a quick mouth at the bottom. You can be as extra as you want. You could like embroider some eyebrows, actually, see if I can undo what I just did. I'm gonna knot this here and then start over. So yeah, you can try different things. Experiment. I know I did like that cross stitch tutorial recently, and I ended up making, I'm making a mess. I ended up making like a lot of cross stitch things for Christmas as like Christmas presents for people, and that was really fun. I think one of my favorite ones I did is I made like a 20-sided die from like D&D. I made one of those for a friend. Turned out really cool. Alright, I accidentally already have a little knot on here, so I'm just gonna fix that. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. When I'm doing projects, I absolutely love to listen to audiobooks, and I get lots of like quote unquote reading done that way. And if you haven't checked it out, again, Hoopla and Libby, those are a couple of our, apps that you can, check out virtual content from digital content. They have like a great selection of audiobooks, ebooks, so that's where I listen to all my audiobooks. And Abby's did a recent Slice of Life episode about audiobooks. That's really good. And she talked about, sometimes if you're trying to read a book and you're just not feeling it, for whatever reason, like maybe you can't concentrate on it, try listening to the audiobook. And that's definitely worked for me a bunch. Like there are some books like I wanted to read them, but I just could not focus for whatever reason on like sitting down and reading the physical book. It's so weird. Like sometimes I can just get lost in a book, like a physical print book, really easily, and sometimes I just can't. And right now, I'm kind of like in this stage where like I'm reading lots of books, ebooks on my phone, and I haven't really read. I was about to say that I hadn't read a physical book recently, but actually I did this past weekend, so what am I even talking about? Okay, so that's like a little stitched on mouth. That's a little bit creepy. That's okay. I want it to be a little bit creepy because I want this to, again, kind of be like the movie Coraline. So tying your knot down here can be a little tricky, but yeah, I've been listening and reading a bunch of books kind of to do with some pretty creepy subject matter. So I think, expect, a must read Monday thing coming up pretty soon about those books. Alright, so there's our front. Again, super simple, but you can make this as complicated as you want. Alright, then this is where we're going to put the stuffing inside. So I've pressed my felt together, and what you can do, if you want to make sure this doesn't move while you're sewing, you can like stick the pins through here. So you're pinning it. And, uh-oh. I'm not a very patient sewer. I like cross stitch a lot because it's really, you can't really mess up cross stitch, honestly. You just kind of take your time. All right, we got this pin we're going to sew around the edge. But yeah, sewing, like I am not patient enough to do like really neat stitching. Some people might be, but that is just not my talent per se. When I was younger, like actually like a child, younger, I like to sew little things. If you can hear my cat, he's like yowling in the background. When I was in elementary school, actually, I think, when you like leave elementary school and you go to middle school, I made bean bags for all of my teachers. And I like embroidered little designs on them too. It's so weird. When I think back on it, I was like, oh, such a strange child. I mean, I'm a strange adult, but yeah. Though I can say, as an adult, I've sometimes had students who, like, for whatever reason, like maybe they're moving or for the holidays or whatever, they'd like make me something as a gift, and I still have all those things. Like the people who drew me pictures or gave me art, like I totally keep it. I think it's wonderful. Alright, so I'm gonna just kind of right here. Uh-oh. There, so the knot is like inside. And we're just gonna sew along the edge. So let's see how this looks. So like that. So you're just sticking your needle in, pulling it through. This is kind of the easiest way to do it, and might turn this up a little bit. Actually, no, turn it back down. I'm trying to think of the best way to show this, but it's kind of hard to decide. So, anyways, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and do this entire thing with y'all watching. But you kind of want to make sure your stitches are sort of close together. Mine are a little bit all over the place. We're just going to say that's part of the strange charm of this design, which is very Frankenstein, Coraline-esque. You know, kind of like a Halloween type monster vibe, in which case I really should have done this in green. That would have looked great. Note to self, make green monster plushies at Halloween. And my thread, I don't know if it's like the thread or whatever, there's been a couple instances where like it's got a little bit sticking up, and I don't know, so just make sure you're pulling your thread through taut. You can make your stitches closer together, farther apart, even, haphazard, however. But, you know, this might be a good place to kind of stop. Okay. So that's kind of the border, and so that's going to go all the way around the edge. And then you might be like, where's the stuffing going to go? So my plan was to kind of, you know, sew around the edge, get to about here, and make sure you leave like an opening. And then you can push your stuffing into there and then sew it closed. And if you're going to do essential oil, just remember to put that on there. But yeah, that's kind of the basic idea of how to do this. And again, felt is just, it's really a cheap material to buy. I think like a sheet of felt is maybe 20 cents or something like that. And so, you know, you can make some cool things for not a lot of money. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Again, if you ever have suggestions on like craft ideas, let us know. We'd love to know. But talk to you later. Bye.